Tires, start your engines!
It's MRN Motorsports Monday, the place for the latest news and loudest opinions, direct from the guys at the track. Presented by Outback Steakhouse. This program is rated VNGSN and may contain scenes of verbal nonsense and graphic shenanigans. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oscar, my baloney has a first name.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hercules Tires.
Paint car is on.
Here's Woody Cain
Everyone knows your name, Woody.
and Buddy Long.
Welcome to Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. I'm Woody Cain, Joey Meyer on special assignment. So, Buddy Long filling in for us again. Thanks for being here.
What special assignment is he on?
He actually had to fly Brad Keselowski out to Mexico, I believe, for his vacation. So he's got that going on. He's
Sounds
not
good.
just a spotter, he's also a pilot.
Yes.
So what are we going to do about the 48? Oh, woe is them. The seven-time champion has forgotten how to race, except for this weekend.
Oh, he's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
the car is just terrible. The crew, everything's just terrible. I mean, just go ahead and pack everything up. It's
Yep.
it's done. They're not going to win a race this year, obviously. Yeah, the
That was
doubters
all
were
the
out,
talk
man.
on social media for the
Yeah.
past couple of weeks now. Oh my gosh, what are they going to do?
Yeah, and actually, he was one of the few cars that I could see that would take it to another level, even before that rubber came in on that second groove, that could make that car work. He made some dynamic 2- and 3-wide passes, and if anybody didn't think these drivers were pure athletes by now, after this past weekend, between those track conditions by virtue of the new repave and the gusty wind conditions, which Jimmy alluded to during
Yeah.
the pre-race and during the week, it was a white-knuckle adventure, I'm sure, for these guys all day long.
Very hot inside the race car, and so Jimmy had to take 3 liters of fluid after the race, after he got done with victory lane ceremonies, before he came into the media center to talk to the rest of the press. Imagine if he was just a mere mortal. How many, with all the running and all the exercising he does, if he had not been in good shape, I don't know what might have happened.
Yeah, and it's amazing because we know he's won so many championships and he has Richard Petty type numbers in that category. But then when you talk about the amount of victories he's starting to compile at several different racetracks, he's got quite a few impressive statistics that continue to place him up in the ranks of the true elite, which he already is. But like 25% of the races he has run in
crazy.
Texas, he's won. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And what about the number at Texas specifically?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that's crazy. I mean, I know the ratios, but just the sheer number of race wins there. Remember, a summer ago, this was all the talk as well. What's wrong with the 48? And all he did was wind up winning a championship.
You never rule him out, and I think even if it was Jeff Gordon, if he was still racing in the 24 car, there is a segment of time, a period of time where I wouldn't say it's a slump. They're just not hitting it as well as everybody else is, but you never count that 48 car out. Never.
No, you don't. Our Kyle Rickey had a chance to chat with him in victory lane after the big win at Texas.
More than anything, we just needed to execute and get a top 5 finish, and to be able to do that and win, carry us into the Easter break with a lot of momentum and a lot of relief in some ways, and then we can come back and go to Bristol and really dig in during the stretch here and get to work. So we needed a good run, and we did the best we could.
He really did, and it looked like for a time he could get up to whoever was in the lead, but not be able to pull out and take advantage of that extra lane and get by them. He finally did, and then when he got by, you kind of expected he might drive away, but Jimmy the length stayed roughly 5-8 car lengths or something like that through the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly. And if you missed the race, if you were busy doing something else or couldn't sit there and catch up with it, Jimmy was in a backup car. That's another interesting statistic, and I think this is the second time that he has come from the back of an event. He's also done it at Homestead Miami Speedway to win a race. That's very, very impressive credentials.
And what about Kyle Larson? Second again, and he's leading the standings.
Yeah, and I think so many people that were sitting there watching that race were thinking the same thing. If Kyle had gotten around Joey just a few laps earlier, had he been able to do it, we might be talking about a different winner today.
Ran out of time for sure. Don't forget, folks, check out Outback Steakhouse. They've got great lunch specials, and since Kevin Harvick had a top 10 finish, just barely, let's see. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. I'm looking at the standings. He's 10th in the standings, but he's not. Oh, yeah, he's 4th. He's 4th yesterday, so we do have Bloomin' Mondays to go by and check them out and get that free Bloomin' Onion. Say, hey, Jimmy Johnson had that top 10 finish. You got to give me the Bloomin' Onion. And check out the Joey menu. Joey Meyer thinks it's for kids. It's really it is for kids. He thinks it's for him, but it really is a good deal.
And we talked about the Chevrolet camp with both Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Larson, but what about the Ford camp? The top 5 qualifying positions were theirs, and I think by the time we got to the competition caution, albeit very early, another Ford was up in there. They had some good runs. Top 6 drivers were Ford drivers or Ford cars by the time we got there. A very good production by the Ford camp as well this weekend.
Going to be a lot of fun. Buddy Long sitting in for Joey Meyer, who is somewhere out there up in the sky headed to his next destination. Landon Cassill is going to join us from Front Row Motorsports to talk about his day at Texas and about the upcoming off weekend and the race coming up at Bristol after that. We'll hear a little more from Jimmy Johnson. We'll hear from Kyle Larson, who just continues to reel off those second-place finishes. We'll also talk a little Xfinity Series racing. It's all ahead on Motorsports Monday. Stay with us.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
Ever wish your kid came with an instruction manual? I'm behavioral therapist James Lehman, and I'll show you how to change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation, the program that helps stop defiance, backtalking, lying, acting out in school, even problems with ADD and ADHD. There's no screaming, no fighting, no frustration. Your child will listen to you again. I guarantee it.
Change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation. Call now. 1-800-406-2945. 1-800-406-2945.
Where will you be when NASCAR comes to Chicago's fastest loop? 4 days of racing, tailgating, camping, and music. Come to Chicagoland Speedway September 14th through the 17th. Tickets for Sunday Chicagoland 400 are available now. Camping spots are available and selling fast. All kids' tickets $25 off adult price and free on certain race days. Get your tickets and campsite now at ChicagolandSpeedway.com. Chicagoland Speedway, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs start here.
Hi, this is Jimmy Johnson, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday.
Jimmy Johnson wins the race at Texas Motor Speedway, a newly repaved and reconfigured track. Kevin Harvick comes home fourth. That means free bloomin' onion at Outback Steakhouse. Go by and tell them you saw not Jimmy Johnson. You saw Kevin Harvick finish in the top 4 there and earn
What do you
that
think they
for
would
everybody.
do if you said Jimmy Johnson? Would they still give it
I
to
bet
you?
they probably would. If you say free bloomin' onion, bloomin' Monday, I bet you're going to be covered. But we mentioned before we went to the break there that Kyle Larson has another second-place finish, and he is really reeling off some outstanding runs right now. And overall, he's got a 17-point lead over another young guy in Chase Elliott. Our Kyle Rickey also spoke with Kyle Larson after the race at Texas.
Kind of bring us through your day. You obviously passed the most cars by far, coming up with a runner-up finish.
Yeah, it was a solid day for our Credit One Bank Chevy team. I made a little mistake there beginning of the race after we made our way up to 6th or whatever it was the first run, and had to pass a lot of cars again. And then, yeah, so I think if I wouldn't have made that, thank you, wouldn't have made that mistake early in the race, you never know what could have happened. Maybe we could have got to lead on that beginning of that second stage and kind of controlled the race. So disappointed in my mistake I made early, but happy with the effort and the execution that we had on our team. And yeah, wish we would be one spot better, but I had to work pretty hard there that last run to get by those guys in front of me, and ended up with a second. So happy with that.
You know what the guys always say is you have to start running in the top 10, then the top 5, and then the wins will come. Kyle Larson is certainly doing that. He's already got a victory this season, and all these second-place finishes have him on top of the charts.
Absolutely, and kudos to his teammate, Jamie McMurray. Another car from the Chip Ganassi Racing Stables, came home 7th over the weekend on Sunday, and is also doing a very good job in the early part of this season. The Ganassi crew, they're going to have their fair amount of wins, and Kyle, once he gets on a streak, I think it's just going to be very tough.
Yeah, and you keep finishing that close that often, you're bound to kick the door down sooner or later. We mentioned the newly repaved and reconfigured racetrack at Texas, and that was a challenge all weekend long for the guys. Here's what Jimmy Johnson had to say about the way the weekend went afterward.
I was really blown away at how much of an advantage the leader had. And I came from 21st or something on tires and passed guys with ease. And then on new tires, I couldn't pass the leader. And I saw that also when I caught the 4-car and couldn't get by him. So really interesting how that was the case. We've worked really hard to get the aero off these cars and to have have that much trouble to try to get by the leader was surprising to me. So I really expected him to fade a lot quicker, and he didn't. And I thought, well, damn, I'm going to really have to work hard to get by him. The tire rubber didn't want to smear into the asphalt as quickly as we all thought it would and anticipated it would. I think they did a phenomenal job paving the track and giving us a lot of options in turns 1 and 2. It's just going to take a little while for us to be able to put rubber down up there.
You could see the groove when they showed the high-angle shots where it was lighter colored up near the wall and darker colored where the grooves were, and I've never heard it described like that. The rubber smeared into the racetrack.
Exactly.
That's a good way to look at it, though.
You heard words sketchy, you heard dicey. A lot of references.
4 guys tore up in first practice, 4 wrecks in first practice.
And it looked like they came to an absolute standstill when they got out of that groove and realized, I got to woe this car up, and they lose 7 or 8 positions. It almost looked like there was a mechanical issue because it was that much of a difference between the racing groove and the slickness of the racetrack, just 1 or 2 grooves up.
Yeah, and as we saw this race go on, we saw a lot of guys trying to scuff in some tires in practice so they'd have those for the race. And you heard Jimmy talking about the difficulty getting to the front with brand new tires.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, he was one of them that did it. I was so amazed at a very early portion of this event. And I just couldn't wait to see the beginning of this race, and they did such a phenomenal job. But to see, as I mentioned a few moments ago, some 2 and 3 wide racing, and sometimes it could be the driver that was up top, depending on where they were on the racetrack.
You could wiggle up out of the bottom groove as well.
You could. It was tough. It was very tough. But hats off to the racetrack, obviously, for doing all the work they did overnight to get more rubber built into the racetrack. And I'm going to be very curious when we go back there in early June for the Camping World Truck Series, and I believe the IndyCar is there as well. You know, that's a very hot portion of the country. Summertime is right around the corner. That track's going to bake and sit there for a long period of time. And come the fall race, when the Cup guys come back, we may see a totally different outcome.
We could, indeed. One guy who it looked like had the strongest car for most of the day was Ryan Blaney, another of our young up-and-coming drivers. He wound up winning the first 2 stages. Here's how he described it later.
I think it says a lot to this team, this Motorcraft Quick Lane team, how good a car we had today. If you would have asked me yesterday how we were going to run, I wouldn't have said we would win 2 stages and have one of the fastest cars. They made really good changes this morning, and we kind of got back there on pit strategy, and we're never able to make it up. I think we got to 7th or 8th, and we had a bad pit stop. I slipped through the box, and that kind of went downhill from there. That was my fault, and I hate to do that, but really show how strong this team is and how good a change we can make from Saturday to Sunday. I didn't think we were very good yesterday, and we made some really good changes this morning and overnight to get us where we need to be. Just it's a shame no one could pass anybody out there.
And now there's another different description. Nobody could make any passes, but Blaney would get out front and then just hold everybody off until they had that incident where he slid through the pit box that he was talking about.
Yeah, and that was a tough break. I mean, the Motorcraft Ford was just on rails for those first 2 segments, and it kind of reminded me of the Las Vegas event where Martin Truex was so strong, won the first 2 segments, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing Motorsports Monday with Woody. So I'm going to have another driver that dominated these segments, and here he goes. And I was really, and you know, I'm a fan as well, really pulling for the Wood brothers to see if they can get that car in victory lane. And Blaney, like Larson, is paying his dues, and there's another driver so very close to a victory.
He's up to 6th in the overall standings right now based on those strong runs he's been having, and winning those segments is paying off. We didn't think, or a lot of guys told us at the beginning of the year, they weren't all that enthused, that might not be the right word, but all that gung-ho about chasing those points. Now we're seeing more and more. Those guys are getting them. You can have a day that's kind of subpar, but if you win a couple of stages or place well in them, you're going to do all right in the points.
Yeah, they were ho-hum about it. Now they're saying,
there's
that's
something
what's
out
happening.
there. Yeah, we can get
every race. That's what's happening. So.
All right, we've got a lot more still to come here on MRN Motorsports Monday. Landon Cassill is going to join us in a few minutes from Front Row Motorsports to tell us how his day went at Texas Motor Speedway. He got swept up in one of those early incidents, was able to continue and finish the race. However, off weekend coming up, then Bristol Motor Speedway after that. We'll get him to describe that as well. And we'll talk a little bit of Xfinity racing here on MRN Motorsports Monday.
Ever wish your kid came with an instruction manual? I'm behavioral therapist James Lehman, and I'll show you how to change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation, the program that helps stop defiance, backtalking, lying, acting out in school, even problems with ADD and ADHD. There's no screaming, no fighting, no frustration. Your child will listen to you again. I guarantee it.
Change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation. Call now. 1-800-406-2945. 1-800-406-2945.
Where will you be when NASCAR comes to Chicago's fastest loop? 4 days of racing, tailgating, camping, and music come to Chicagoland Speedway September 14th through the 17th. Tickets for Sunday Chicagoland 400 are available now. Camping spots are available and selling fast. All kids tickets $25 off adult price and free on certain race days. Get your tickets and campsite now at ChicagolandSpeedway.com. Chicagoland Speedway, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs start here.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Hi, this is Austin Dillon. Now back to MRN Motorsports Monday.
Austin Dillon there welcoming us back. He had a little bit of an issue early on as well, and he ran into that thing where there's been a little bit of a learning curve, I guess, among the fan base about, well, if you can fix a car on pit road in 5 minutes, you're okay, but if you have to go to the garage and fix something, then you're not okay?
Yeah, that was a very, very bizarre beginning of the race, because how many times do you see any car in the field, let alone one of the front runners in one of the RCR cars on the pace laps go into the garage area? You may see him going down pit road, but obviously a very unique, and even Larry McReynolds, they were talking to him, this is a very uncommon issue with that trailing arm that they were talking about.
And the difference is if it's a mechanical thing not caused by a wreck, you can fix it beyond the 5-minute clock in the garage and still come back out, which is taking a little bit of getting used to, but because it used to be if you go behind the wall, that's that, and if you stayed out, then you're going to be running around and pulling pieces off and putting all the tape on and all that, and several guys went through that as well. Yeah. Joining us on the guest line now, Landon Cassill, who had an eventful day at Texas Motor Speedway. Landon, welcome back to the program, man. That was a wild-looking race. How did it feel from the driver's seat for you? One groove?
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was definitely a tough racetrack. All weekend long, really. It felt like it was definitely a one-groove track on Sunday. Opened up a little bit, I thought, in 3 and 4, where you could maybe run a half a lane higher and still kind of make the same speed, but the fastest way on both ends was definitely the bottom.
We have seen, obviously, traditional track repaves over a certain period of time. Where does this one rank as far as the challenge that you had going into the event, getting adapted to a new racing surface here this past weekend?
I think this one was as tough as any of them. We've gone through this in Michigan and Kansas. I wasn't really around for Charlotte when it was freshly repaved, but I feel like this was about as tough of a repave as we've dealt with. A lot of that probably has to do with just not having a tire test, or really even an open test day the day before where we could put lots of laps on the track. So on Friday we just were, the first 45 minutes of Friday's practice session, 45 minutes to an hour, was spent just running the track in, not even really getting a feel for our cars or anything like that, but just kind of getting, trying to get laps on the track.
Chatting with Landon Cassill, the driver of the Love's Travel Stop Ford for Front Row Motorsports. And Landon, as we got into the weekend, in addition to the new racing surface, you also had to face a reconfigured turns 1 and 2. How different was it from what you had been used to in the past?
It's definitely a lot different. I feel like a difference when you're going through the corner, but it, the biggest difference I felt was on corner entry. It seemed like the track was just definitely a lot flatter, makes that entry a lot more unstable, and then the track being wider, you're just taking a much tighter radius around the corner, going 20 feet lower on the bottom essentially. So that made it interesting. I think it's going to make for a really good track though, as it ages and as the group widens out.
Well, that's where I was going to head next. I was going to ask you to get the old crystal ball out and try to figure out, you guys don't go back to this facility until early November in a triple-header weekend with the trucks and the Xfinity Series cars. This is a track, obviously, that sits in a very hot portion of the country. Do you think there's going to be a vast difference between what you saw this past weekend and when you come back in November in Landon?
Yeah, I think it'll be completely different. I think they're going to have a lot of stuff going on the Speedway this summer. I'm sure a lot of events, school cars, driving experiences, and we're going to go back and it's going to have the hot Texas summer. We'll have the sun will be beating down on that surface for an entire summer, and I think it's going to age pretty quickly. I think we're going to see a big difference when we go back in November.
Landon, we talked about some of the guys who had some tough times during the day, and you were one of them that got caught up in that early incident. Tell us what happened there. You wound up finishing with a heavily taped up right front.
Yeah, we had a really good car. We qualified 15th and found ourselves in the top 10 right away. Just a lot of that by way of restarting on the bottom. But I felt like we had a car that could run, in that 15th place range if we could keep the track position. And we just had a incident on pit road where since we had such good track position, we took 2 tires on our pit stop, and we were coming out of our pit stall at the same time my teammate was actually coming into his pit stall, and the two of us just crossed over, and it damaged my car, and we just didn't have the same performance the rest of the day. So, it's tough those are tough pit stops when there's so many cars on the lead lap, and you got some people taking 2 tires and some people taking 4 tires. So, you just kind of have to maybe spend a few minutes to reflect on it, and then we'll talk about it as a team tomorrow and kind of get an idea of what we could do different moving forward, but, we won't dwell on it too much.
I mean, of all the guys, 39 others out there, that has to be your teammate. How frustrating is something like that?
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, you kind of their pit stall was just 2 in front of me, or just 1 pit stall in front of me, really, and usually, when you're that close to your teammate on pit road, you kind of assume a pretty big responsibility to make sure you don't screw anything up for each other. So it could get really confusing, like I said, when there's a lot of guys taking 2 tires, a lot of guys taking 4. People are coming in and out of their pit stalls before the guys in the back are even getting to their pit stall. So, in a lot of ways, it didn't even have to be my teammate. It could have been anybody else that you have that kind of collision with.
Landon, one of the things we touched on here early in the show was the strength of the Ford camp at the beginning. Top 5 qualifying spots went to Fords. By the time they got to the competition caution, there were 6 Fords that were in the top 6 positions, and you, as you mentioned, qualified in the 15th position. Can you take us through the transformation and the strength and how things have even gotten better for the Ford camp coming into the 2017 season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ford is just really strong right now. I think our engines run really well. We're all pretty proud of our Roush Yates engines. So, Doug Yates works really hard in his team, and it just shows when you go to a fast track like Texas, the kind of speed these cars make. And, with adding Stuart Haas this year to the Ford group, there's a lot of smart people over there building Fords. So that their speed is obviously showing.
Get a weekend off now, and I know those weekends off are like gold, but let's skip ahead. Bristol will be the next race, and they announced recently, the track did, that they're going to use that VHT substance, the sticky type substance, in the turns again. What did you feel with that the last time they did that, and what do you think about, what are you anticipating for this next race at Bristol?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely made it interesting. It made it, really fast Friday and Saturday to run the bottom. We'll definitely be qualifying down there. And using that VHT as kind of a grip strip to run fast lap times. I enjoy running the top at Bristol, though, and I really didn't feel like we need to have any of that stuff down there. I kind of enjoy the way that Bristol races. And it does seem like by the time you run the Xfinity race and modify the Cain and cars that race there, it does kind of wear off that strip by the time we race on Sunday, that you don't actually run the bottom quite as much on Sunday. You'll definitely move up to the top, but it seems like you can kind of dive down and use that grip strip down at the very bottom to maybe help you complete a pass. So, I think Bristol is a track that it doesn't matter how much you change the place or how much you do to it. It's still going to be an entertaining race.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about track grip when you get to the heat of the day to an evening time race. Obviously, this Bristol event in spring is a daytime race. In the summertime, in mid-August, we go to nighttime racing there. With that concrete surface, Landon, is there a vast difference for you guys from the spring race to the night race in August?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't think too much. You know, the tracks typically get a little bit quicker at night. They tend to have a little bit more grip. But Bristol is kind of Bristol no matter when you're racing at it. You know, it's just a rough track. It's hard on the driver. It's hard on equipment. And track position's important, and you're gonna pretty much do whatever you got to do to get people out of your way if you're faster than the guy in front of you.
And you're grinning while you said every bit of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, pretty much. Just the thought of it gets me excited. I love going to Bristol. I really am, especially after kind of having a rough Sunday at Texas. I don't even care to have an off weekend this week. I'd almost rather be on my way to Bristol right now.
Speaking of the off week, as we mentioned, those are like gold now. You don't get too many of the off weeks. Are you going to swim across the ocean and do an Ironman deal again? Or are you going to hang at the house? What are you going to do?
Man, I'd love to. I'd love to do a long swim or something. I'm going to go work out here after I get off the phone with you. But no big plans this off weekend. We're going to spend Easter with family, and I do think I might take my wife somewhere and shut our phones off for a day and just try to unplug.
Fantastic. Well, Landon, thanks for giving us a little of your time here and the insight about both Texas and Bristol, and enjoy the downtime, because before you know it, you'll be in the hot and heavy part of the season and wishing you had an off weekend. Thanks for your time and congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
There you go, Landon Cassill. And he mentioned that they're qualifying better, and that's the first step. David Reagan said they've got to get their 1.5 mile program, intermediate track program, a little bit better. But with a good qualifying effort like that, it's encouraging.
And another group from the Ford camp, Front Row Motorsports, has just continued to dig and dig. It's a shame that David and he were the ones that got together. Darn it, David! I'm sure that's what he was saying.
Of all the people
in the car.
Yeah.
But no, it was great to see a good top 15 qualifying run for Landon. They're just getting better and better little by little.
All right, we'll take another quick time out here on MRN Motorsports Monday. Talk a little Xfinity racing when we come back.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I'm on that onion and bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
You're smart, got your own trucking business, making it happen. What if I told you there was a place online where you could connect with other smart owner-operators just like you? It's an online community called Team Run Smart, where people share advice on truck maintenance, fuel savings, healthy habits on the road, and so much more, all to make your business more profitable. And it's all free. Visit TeamRunSmart.com today to check it out. You'll be glad you did. TeamRunSmart.com, brought to you by Freightliner Trucks.
Hey, this is Joey Logano, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday.
It's been a good track for me. You know, it's the first time I came here actually was my graduation, and that wasn't really a great day. I didn't think that was it was going to be a track that I would enjoy, and then ever since then, man, it's just kind of clicked. You know, I always felt really comfortable on the old track here. Really felt like I needed or knew what I needed the car to do, and was able to really communicate that well. And honestly, even with the new surface here. Felt like I was able to get back what the car needed. Definitely more challenging too on this surface than the old surface, but a good day of learning and really a good day from JGR of getting their cars a lot better. You know, we came a long way from a couple weeks ago at Fontana, where I didn't feel like we didn't have anything for the 22 car, and then now we've come here and really felt like we had the dominant car all day that was better than the 22.
Eric Jones wins the Xfinity Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. Elliott Sadler has a 10th place finish. That keeps him atop the standings by 6 over his rookie teammate William Byron, who had a top 10 finish of his own, and he is quietly climbing the ladder.
He is, and that's no surprise to anybody. He's doing a fantastic job every level of motorsports that he's run in. He has been very impressive, and this is reminiscent of a side-by-side truck battle at Texas with Matt Crafton a year ago, door handle to door handle for 3 laps, never touched. Some of the best racing I ever saw from this young gentleman.
It doesn't always work out, but you put good driver with good equipment and good team, typically good things tend to happen, and that's William Byron right now. Yes, it is. They are doing very well. Ryan Reed third in the standings. He's 42 back. And Bubba Wallace finishes sixth again. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, ever since we heard back at Daytona, there was some sponsorship questions. The kid has just been phenomenal each and every race.
Fantastic. If you're watching on Monday, don't forget Bloomin' Monday at Outback Steakhouse. The top 10 run by Kevin Harvick gets you a free Bloomin' Onion, and NASCAR Live, 7 o'clock Tuesday night. We'll see you right back here next week on MRN Motorsports Monday. Hopefully Joey will come back.
MRN Motorsports Monday is presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in every Monday for another exciting episode right here on MRN.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network.